states are actually taking back territory that was theirs in the first place. Is that the way you see it?
That's correct. That's correct.
So explain this to me.
Well, we voluntarily joined the United States of America. So we voluntarily decided we could secede from the United States of America and in turn take our land back. There's just too many issues that need to be taken care of, and we no longer felt fit to be with the one union.
But you had to know when you seceded that it would start a war. So what issues were bad enough to be willing to kill or die over?
Well, there were a lot of issues such as the immigrants coming over from places such as Ireland. There were a lot of immigrants just flooding over the United States quickly, and they would start to come down to our land, and they were polluting the way we lived, so to say. The north was more industrialized than we were, and we were growing our crops down south, and there were a lot of places where riots were beginning to let loose because there were so many immigrants packed into one area that riots would break out. There was more diseases. Just the way they were living was nasty. We just did not want them to come down here.
You mean that was happening in the north?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. We didn't want them to bring it down to the way we live. And also President Lincoln being elected, he's trying to take away our slaves, and our slaves is the way that we live. They take care of our crops for us, and they make sure that we get stuff done. And we're trying to expand out west and grow more crops. And President Lincoln is trying to put a stop to that. And that just can't happen.
But don't you have a moral problem with slavery, with owning other people?
No, a lot of people have issues with that, and honestly, I don't see why. If you look, the pyramids, they're built by slaves. Even a reference in the Bible says obey thy master, and I don't see why that we have an issue with such things as I mean, there's been slaves forever, and almost tons of different places.
Well, there is a long tradition of slavery, that's true, but still, I mean, in the north, people are paid for their labor, and it seems maybe
Correct.
Shouldn't slaves be paid? Shouldn't people be paid for what they do?
A lot of people say that, but up north, they don't pay the slaves enough. They pay them not enough at all because they're not even able to live. They don't pay them enough for housing, for food, stuff that they need in life. And our slaves, we take care of them. We make sure that we provide them with food, we provide them with housing. We make sure that they can live. We make sure that they're not, disease-ridden. And, I own slaves myself, and I take care of them very well, very well.
So you're saying your slave standard of living is better than people who are in so-called wage slavery in the north?
Correct.
Well, you are a father, aren't you?
I am. I have a beautiful 1-year-old daughter at home, and I miss her every day.
This is a war, as you well know. I mean, there's a very real possibility you might be killed.
Correct.
How do you feel about that, leaving a wife and a child without your protection?
Let's say this first. I love my wife. I love my daughter to death. They're both everything to me. But when I fight, I know that I'm living, that they're living at home, and that I'm making a good life for them. That every day I fight, that I can feel comfortable knowing that I'm fighting for a better life for the both of them. And if I do pass away, that's what makes every day worth fighting for.
All right, well, I thank you for that perspective.